I know is the melodies and symphonies. Everything I know is alive without light. There's a longing inside my soul, and in the deepest void where time is but a scenery, I'll be waiting for you. Darling, look into my eyes and tell me what's inside. Truth be told, my dear, you don't know what it's like to leave it all behind. Take a step into the night, hear the voices singing la 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 la, dancing gracefully to the beat of your heart until the morning comes to steal you away. All I ever knew was that you and me were meant to be. All I ever knew was the taste of your lips against mine. We will vow for eternity. Now I am lost inside this everlasting reverie, and I'm losing my mind. Darling, look into my eyes and tell me what's inside. Truth be told, my dear, you don't know what it's like to leave it all behind. Take a step into the night, hear the voices singing la 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 la. Come away with me through the echoes of time until the morning comes to steal you away. Darling, look into my eyes and tell me what's inside. Truth be told, my dear, you don't know what it's like. Take a step into the night, hear the voices singing la 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 la. Come away with me through the echoes of time until the morning comes to steal you away. Into my eyes and brought me back to life. I still think of you in the dark of the night, a silent lullaby. I'll be waiting here till the end of all days. My nocturnal serenade.
Welcome to Fika. Welcome to the Swedish Embassy's Fika here at the Swedish Embassy and my residence here in Tokyo. Friday afternoon, I think many of us are looking forward to the end of this week, and I can't think of a better thing to do today than to join us, because we are joined by someone very special. Yohio, great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining this Fika session that we have started to have. Usually when it's not Corona times, it's the Swedish Embassy and many Swedish workplaces all over the world and also here in Tokyo are having our Fikas. But now we want to do them online so we can see you and we can enjoy this time together. And then we heard, and I heard, that Yohio was in town. So we are very happy that you took the time to come and join us this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Back in Tokyo, how does it feel?
It feels amazing. And I mean, of course there's many restrictions right now and we can't really do that much, but just, you know, being able to walk the streets of Tokyo makes me feel warm and happy. So
warm and happy, and that is what we need, isn't it? We have just discovered, Yohio and I, that we grew up in the same place. We both grew up in Sundsvall, in the northern parts of Sweden.
Yeah, I was really surprised, actually. There's so many people I meet that come from the area for some reason. It's a small town, but it seems that a lot of cool people come from Sundsvall.
Sundsvall keeps on delivering,
Yeah.
and we are happy about that. Why does a person from Sundsvall feel so passionate about Japan?
Wow. Well, it started really early for me. I've been in love with Japan since I was about 9 years old. And it started with a book, and I know many of you watching know this story already, but it's a book called Across the Nightingale Floor. And it just like took off from there, and now I live here. So from a book to living in the country and speaking the language is really, yeah, I couldn't have thought that when I was 9, I guess.
Do you think is this feeling of closeness and also feeling at home for a Swede in Japan, is that only you? And did you hit the right chord, or is this something general Swedish people, Japanese people?
I guess that, I don't know, when my Swedish friends come and visit me here, even though some of them may not have a big interest in Japan generally, most of them generally say that like just being here is amazing and it feels really great. And a lot of the people that come to visit me also say that like I could actually imagine myself living here, even though they don't know much about, you know, the history or the culture or the language or anything. So I think Japan has that impact on a lot of people. Actually, when you come here for the first time and see it for yourself, it's just wonderful. It takes your breath away for some reason.
It does. You are a musician,
Yeah.
and you're into Visual Kei.
Yes.
So maybe many of you joining us for the Fika today knows about it, but some of us, perhaps also me, needs to be a bit enlightened. Visual Kei, how
Yes.
shall we understand that?
Well, Visual Kei is a music genre that originated in the 1980s, and it was kind of started by a band called X Japan. And it's, I would say, for people that don't know what it is, to put it simply, it's like a Japanese version of glam rock. But it's so much more than that. It's evolved into a completely different, unique thing. But it has its roots in bands like Kiss and artists like David Bowie, and just like artists that put some emphasis on the visual approach as well as the music. But you shouldn't get the wrong picture that it's only about the looks, because most of the bands actually tailor their looks after their music and not vice versa. So looks always come second, but it's kind of a way to deepen the atmosphere of the music and the worldview that we're trying to create, to make it more interesting into like a full package of art.
How big is Visual Kei today, 2021, in Japan and in Sweden?
In Sweden, it's not that big.
It's you.
It's me and a couple of others.
But you are big in Sweden.
Yeah. I will try to be humble about that. But in Japan, I mean, I would say that the glory days of Visual Kei is not right now. The genre has been struggling for a couple of years. But it had its peak in the 90s, then it went down a bit, and then like 2006 until 2012, 13-ish, it was another wave that it was kind of big. And now it's kind of fluctuating like up and down. But still, like some of the most known artists can still fill arenas and stuff like that. So it's not a small genre.
Not now. Corona is all
Not
over the
now.
place. But Adam, my good colleague from the embassy who deals with cultural affairs, He's very straightforward. He says you're big in Sweden, and you have become very charmingly Japanese, Yuhio. Yes, you are big. I think my kids who are teenagers, they know who you are. My mother knows who you are, and I know who you are. So I think you are definitely an audience, and you also have made an impression. Then how big your fan group is, I don't know. But if I see the chat going on, I see it's quite a large number of people.
A lot in Spanish.
A lot in Spanish.
Yes.
And you're getting much nicer comments than I usually do. That is more about your charming personality and looks. I very seldom get comments about that, but maybe I should be happy about that, of course. Shall we see what is someone saying here? That someone asking something, so we don't dominate.
Do we have any concrete question?
Yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask, and we'll try to answer if it's a real question.
One concrete question: how does it feel to know that at least 10,000 women or more are in love with you?
Did you hear that? How does it feel to know that at least 10,000 women are desperately in love with you? Well, that's a good question.
I haven't really thought about that much, to be honest. I guess I'm flattered, and well, how do you even respond to that? I mean,
you don't respond to that. But can I maybe on that, because it's a bit serious, and if you don't mind, you were very young when you broke through.
Yeah.
So how is it to be a young teenager, 14, 15 years, and suddenly become very famous? Because of course it sounds fantastic at first sight.
Yeah.
But then if you think about it, to always be recognized, what's the pros and what's the cons?
I would say that the backside, the cons are vastly more overrepresented than the positive things. Of course, it's great to be that people like what you do to the point that you become famous or recognized for what you do. That means that you have an impact and that you're doing something that people like in some way. So I mean, that's flattering to know. But the fame part, and I've been saying this for a long time, like, fame is not something you should seek at all. People that just say, like, I want to be famous, I can tell you right now, no, you don't. You absolutely
listen to you. I think
want
he's
to be
right.
famous. It's not fun. I mean, I have the privilege to be here and speak to you guys and be with the ambassador here in the residence because of that. So that's a privilege, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. But the backsides are greater. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, you know, people that are famous when they're young and they, you know, get kind of crazy when they're older because of that. And I'm starting to get why that happens, because it takes a toll on your psyche in a way that, you know, regular teenagers, they can do whatever they want and make mistakes and, you know, learn how to grow up without people watching you all the time and judging you for whatever you say and whatever you do at all times. And maybe not get pictures uploaded when you're buying milk in the supermarket, you know. So I would say that is the bad thing.
So how do you cope with this? I know you have a Japanese mentor. Is that the mentor that is only there for the music, or is this more of a life mentor to you?
No, it's both. And the person he's referring to is Gakto, which you probably know, some of you at least. He's a very big artist here in Japan, and he was a part of the Visual Kei boom in the 90s. Singer in a really big band, and then he's a solo artist since 1999. And I got to know him when I was 15, actually. This was before I had my debut as a solo artist. So he's been with me since the start, and of course I've got a lot of advice from him. And yeah, he's important in that part. He's very stoic, so it's really like go the hard way. You know, always take the difficult path. don't take the easy path. So I've kind of been following that, I guess. And of course it's not easy because it's not supposed to be. So I guess you have to be really stoic in your mindset to be able to pull this off and to be able to do this job, because I mean, we're all human, so I have my weak moments as well. It's not always, you know, just fight on, but I mean, just generally it usually works out.
We have some questions. I think we have many viewers from Latin America, apparently. And some of them are asking, when are you coming to Brazil? I mean, it's very hard to answer that question these days, but how do you survive as a musician during Corona?
To be frank, you don't. The virus has been a catastrophe in many ways, of course, and I'm not saying that other parts of industry aren't affected, but I will speak from my point of view and from the industry that I'm in. And it's been, I mean, last year was a disaster for the music industry because we haven't been able to play live, which is actually the main thing that artists and management companies bring in money from. That is kind of like 80% of the income.
The live concerts.
Yes, the live concerts. That's where you make your living.
I thought it was records and
no,
streaming.
because since CDs aren't selling anymore, since there's only streaming, that's the thing. Especially in countries like Sweden, it's like 99.6% or something of the music recording income is from streaming services. And to be honest, streaming hasn't really caught up with the monetization that it should have to this point. So they pay really poorly. If you're not like Justin Bieber or a really huge artist, then you can't compare streaming to how it would be to sell the same equivalent in CDs back in the days. It's like out of the question.
So then concert has become more important.
Yes, it's more important than ever. So for independent artists and even for major bigger artists, it's been hard last year. And a lot of venues, like live houses as they call them in Japan, has been closing because they can't bring in money from anything, since that's what they live on, people playing at their place.
So now I wonder if it's different in Brazil. I don't think it is. Maybe
I don't think it's different. But to answer your question, sorry, I would love to go to Brazil when that's possible, because you know I don't think Brazil would let me into the country right now, and certainly not to play live. So
a very good thing that you are sitting here is that I will already this afternoon write to my very good friend, the Swedish ambassador in Brazil, and tell her that we had this talk, and maybe we can start preparing.
That's good. I mean, this is the perks you get from being famous. Okay?
That's true.
This is
so
a privilege thing.
when were you on the stage last time?
Last time? Wow. Last time I played a real concert was in June of 2019.
That's a long time ago.
Long time ago.
May I ask you about this visual kei genre, which I think is interesting. You mentioned that it's very much about creating a world.
Yeah.
And I wonder, what is that world? Could you formulate what that is?
I think the world you're trying to create is different for every band, and there are different concepts and what you're trying to portray. For me, as a solo artist, I kind of make that into a like song-to-song basis. So if, let's say, like the music video that we showed before starting, My Nocturnal Serenade, that's the visual approach for that song was born out of the song itself, because the song sounded like a vampire love story, you know, back in the days kind of thing. So the proper thing to do for me then is to make that kind of music video for it with that approach, since that's how the song sounds like for me. And then there's like other videos where I'm a clown, or you know, a circus type of thing. That's because the song ended up sounding like a circus themed song. So I kind of make my universes like song to song or album to album in a way, because I like to try out different things, and I have no idea how my next album will sound.
I don't believe you, but okay. I'm sure.
Okay, I'll actually share something. Some of you guys that are following me on Twitter, sorry for the weird breakdown I had last week. I'm fine, don't worry. And I'll also say that I actually finished a demo for the first song for my next album just 2 days ago. I got some inspiration back, so look forward to that.
And I'm so happy to hear this. I don't think we can do it, but I think a lot about Swedish artists, or artists all over the world actually. Tokyo is a fantastic place because in many ways artists from Sweden come and go all the time. Now with Corona it's different, of course, but I am so happy that you are here. Now we had the extension of the state of emergency, so I presume the likelihood of seeing you on the stage in a while is still a bit far away.
Yeah, and the thing about, like, I don't have any concerts booked right now, and the thing about Japan that's actually better than Sweden at the moment is that you can still play live, even though it's a state of emergency. You have to have half the capacity of the place you're playing at still. So it's doable. Maybe it's not that profitable at the moment. So we'll see when that happens, but I hope that it's soon enough, because I'm dying to get back on stage.
Very good. So those of you who are watching now you need to send some inspiration. How do we get Yohio, and how do we get other Swedish artists inspired? Because it must be a tough thing, of course. You said fame is perhaps not anything to strive for. No. So what makes you really happy in your artist life?
Well, I've actually been thinking a lot on, like, what would I do if I didn't do this, since I've like my job is my complete life. It may sound a bit sad, but this is everything for me. This is all I live for. There's nothing outside of my work life, basically, and it's everything I think about all the time. So I was trying to put myself in a kind of a mental experiment, like, what would I do if I didn't do this? And would I be okay with doing something else? And I always come to the same conclusion, that I wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't be able to breathe doing something else, like being employed somewhere, or doing something completely different. Like, I don't think I'm made for something else. And if you want to say that that's destiny or whatever, then you can believe that too. But just, I think that I've been doing this for so long now. This is like my 11th year or something of doing music professionally, and you don't really see other things around you in a way. So I'm happy, to answer your question, I'm happy with being free, even though being free can be restrictive in some sense also. It's a tough problem, but being free in expressing myself, I can decide when I want to release a song, or if I want to do something else that has to do with artistry, like if I want to be in a musical or on a TV show or whatever, I have the freedom to express myself in different ways.
Is it meeting the audience that is the big kick, or is it writing the music on your own, they're feeling it coming into your head?
I mean, when you get inspiration and you start writing a new song, then you get into a flow state that's and that's a kick in itself because the hours go by and you don't really know what's going on anywhere else. So that's a good thing, and being in the studio and, you know, polishing everything and making it sound good, that's fun. But the thing that brings me the most joy is being on stage and performing the things that you've been working so hard on before. So when everything is done and you have the song, you've released the album or whatever, and you go on tour and you play that and have an experience together with the fans and they sing along and, you know, they like the music and everything. That connection is what gives the kicks, and I think that's the case for most artists actually. And that's also why artists after this past year, it's not only like the financial problem of not being able to play live, it's the psychological problem of feeling really choked, like, because you can't express yourself. You live to be on stage, but you can't. So that's the most frustrating part actually, is to not being able to play live just because of the it feels like you're imprisoned for some reason, like you can't free yourself.
Fully understand that. So hopefully we are starting to see the beginning of the end of this, so we can all go to concerts sooner than we know. Do we get questions?
Please guys, try to be serious in this chat. I'm at the embassy. Like, you can do whatever you want on my live streams, but be respectful, please.
Here's a good one. Do you feel potential for live activities online? Because this is a good question. Artists all over the world, when you can't go on stage, how do you do it? How do you meet your audience?
Well, I've seen a lot of artists this past year doing live streams, like a concert live stream, and I get the point. Like, the problem is that since everyone's doing it, like from bigger artists to smaller artists to people in school playing their guitar in front of a camera, it's been so saturated that I think that people at this point are kind of sick of it. And maybe you guys would like to see me do a live stream, I get that, but both for you and for me, it's not the same thing as actually being at a concert. Like, it can never replace the real thing. It's hard to describe, but the feeling you get from being at your favorite artist's concert, like seeing face to face, the energy in the room, it's the same thing for us being on stage, and you know, it's that feeling can never be created in a live stream setting. So it's, I mean, it's something you could do for fun, but it's not the same thing.
Cannot replace.
No.
Yes.
I have a question. You have a lot of experience from both the Swedish music industry and the Japanese one, and I'd like to know what the big differences are, if there are any.
Industry-wise.
Yeah, industry-wise, and also the music scene and the market.
Yeah. Well, I would say, and this is just a sad truth, that in Sweden in recent years, the interest for music has gone down.
Really?
A lot. And it's not that people aren't listening to music, it's just that the way people listen to music now is different from how it was like 7 or 8 years ago.
In what way?
In the way that, and this is actually because of streaming. I'm not going to say that streaming is the devil, because it's not. It's both positive and negative, but most people are listening to playlists that are made, that Spotify themselves have made and chosen what artists to put there. And they are mostly listening in a passive way.
Yeah.
Which means that in a general sense, I'm not talking about you guys, but in a general sense, the youth in Sweden right now aren't that interested in particular artists, or they change their favorite artists from week to week, which becomes a problem when you're trying to build a long-term fan base and do this for a long time. I was blessed to be able to start my career before this happened. But right now, trying to break a new artist into the market in Sweden right now is really hard.
We are not faithful enough, is that?
Yeah, and Sweden also is not really a live culture compared to Japan. Japan is really hardcore on the live concert stuff. And independent bands and major bands, they play live all the time. Not right now, but usually they have tours every year, and smaller bands play like every week. And their core fans come to their lives like twice a month, and they do it for years, and they support the band until they get big, and they still support them after that.
I see.
So let's say for my mentor, Gakt,
Yes.
he's been doing this since the 90s, and if he has an arena gig this year, let's say, a lot of fans from 1999 will still go to his gig, even though they're in their 40s, they have children, they have a husband, they have a regular job. They will go to see his concert because they've always done that every year for 20 years. And that thing you don't really see in Sweden now, which I think is a bit sad.
So Japanese people are more loyal, maybe?
When it comes to music, in a broader sense, I think that's the case. Maybe it's changing a bit now in Japan too, since streaming is getting its hold in Japan slowly. I guess it will change over time, but the industry is always changing. The good thing about Japan also now is that you can still sell CDs, which means that you can, as an artist, a bit more easily make a decent amount of money to be able to survive, even if you're not a big artist.
Now we are perhaps talking so much about music, we should also listen to some music. So I think we should listen to, we have been doing our fika for half an hour, we listen to one of your songs,
yes,
and look at it, and then we round off after that.
And it's one of your older songs from 2013, I think.
Which one is Sky Limit?
Sky Limit.
Yeah,
exactly.
2012. This was my first,
12. Okay, sorry.
my debut song.
Tell us a little bit before we start, your inspiration when you wrote Sky Limit, what was that?
It started with the intro, which sounds like a video game-ish sound, and then I just made it into a song. It was weird, but it worked. So
we look forward to see it and get inspired. What really inspires me with your history, you hear, is that you went for your passion. You were very young, but you felt this is what I wanted to do. Was it someone in your close sphere that said, no, don't do music, you should become a medical doctor or a lawyer?
Well, I don't want to diss my mom because she's been very supportive during the years, but when I was 14 and in Sweden, we have something called gymnasium. I don't know what the equivalent is.
High school.
High school-ish. And before starting high school, I dropped out of school because there's a law that says that you have to go to school until that age. So I have a legal choice to make myself. They can't make me go to high school. So I said I won't go to high school. I'm going to do music. And my mom wasn't that happy about that, to be sure. But I said there's nothing you can do to make me go to school.
The rebel.
Yes, I won't. But I promise you I'll make sure this works. And here I am. So.
We have a question. I'm sorry. We have a question from someone. Who would you like to collaborate with in the future?
Give us some secrets.
Collaboration. Well,
if it's not Gakto.
Yeah, I've already done that. So. No. Wow. I'm not sure actually. I haven't thought about that much, but there's a cool new artist, an American guy. I think he's American at least, called Suburban, and he's kind of doing a similar thing to me. He's not Visual K, but he's doing some cool visual stuff and cool songs. So Suburban. He's younger than me too. I think he produces his own stuff, like makes his own music. So.
Maybe if you are a solo artist, collaboration is not the big thing.
No, well, I guess when it comes to like R&B and hip hop and stuff, they always collaborate, and in the bigger sphere of pop music, there's a lot of collaborations. But for me, I haven't done that much. I think it's only once I've collaborated on a song, or twice. So
we will see. There's one question here that I really like, and we should end there. It's about Japan. Okay. Do you like living in Japan, and how much time do you spend trying to learn Japanese? You know Japanese, so you can speak in Japanese.
Yeah. I love living in Japan, and it's weird to say this at the Swedish embassy, but I want to live here and not in Sweden. So sorry for that, but how much time did I spend learning Japanese? Well, I started studying Japanese when I was 11, and back then there wasn't that much resources online. Now you have apps and everything, like it's heaven for language learning now compared to back then. But I bought some textbooks and I studied by myself. And of course it's hard in the beginning because the grammar is kind of reversed from Swedish, and there's a lot of linguistic concepts that are not found in any other language except for like Korean that has a similar structure. So it's hard to get a grasp on at first, but when it clicks, it gets really easy in a way. Like,
is Japanese musical? If you compare Swedish language and Japanese?
Well, there's like this general myth that Japanese is flat. It's kind of like a language learner joke that Japanese is flat. Mm-hmm. And it has to do with dialect too. I saw this guy on YouTube doing a sketch about that. He said, "Nihongo wa flatto desu."
Flatto. Not very flat.
It's like, wait, that wasn't flat. Yeah, flatto desu. And that's because there's different dialects and stuff like that. But Japanese isn't really flat. I mean, we have tonality and we have stuff like that. Maybe not as much as Swedish in a way. But there's also like a big, like if a Japanese person is surprised, they can go up in really high pitch from nowhere, like it's like that. Yes. Which I don't think Swedish people go up in that high pitch when they're surprised about something. Yeah, if you want to learn Japanese, there are so many good resources online. There's a lot of good YouTubers as well. Get the app Lingo Deer and go from there, and watch Japanese drama series and get into it and learn hiragana and katakana as soon as you can, because that would help a lot.
You hear, what a great end to our fika today. I think if you feel like you want to do something, if you want to learn Japanese, learn it.
Yes.
If you want to learn music, learn it. If you feel that you have music inside you, let it out. If you want to be an ambassador, go for it. So I think you give me and us a lot of inspiration. And don't be embarrassed at all that you say you want to live here. I love to hear that, because I and the Swedish Embassy and all of us working here, we strongly believe that the links between our two countries are so strong. And it's one thing what we do, what the work we do, and politicians and civil servants and all sorts of different professionals. At the core, it's only human beings. It's you. It's other artists, it's Japanese people meeting Swedish people, it's Swedish people meeting Japanese people. This is what we all work for. So I think it has to come down to people. And we look forward to see you on the stage, and we look forward to see more Swedish artists coming in. And thank you we have 1 billion questions now to answer. We could go on the whole evening, but we will make sure that we see them. And if there are some very specific ones, I will make sure you get them. So I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
Good luck. I don't know. We can't shake hands now, so I don't know what we do. We just
let's do this dorky thing that people do.
It's a bit dorky,
Yeah.
but good luck ahead.
Thank you so much
Great
for
to have
inviting
you.
me and to your beautiful home.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful, but also a home is only as beautiful as the people who are in it. Have a very nice weekend. Enjoy Fika, and I'll see you next Friday, or we'll see you next Friday.
Yeah.
We haven't really decided what yet, but it's all about us interacting. Goodbye.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you.
За спиной ветер осенний стучится в окно, плачет опять надо мной. Ночью гроза, а на утро туман, солнце остыло совсем. Давние боли идут чередой, пусть собираются все.